cases for quite some time now, and this is the latest that he has revealed to us. But the chief of staff spoke about it, and according to her, it is propaganda. Let's go here, or let's go listen to the chief of staff, after which we shall also listen to Okudzeto Ablakwa, who has responded to her.
The education sector in Ghana is moving forward to catch up with the modern trends. We are not late. What we are doing is helping our students to have critical minds. So they create. They are not just imbibing knowledge, but they are actually creating knowledge. And I think we need to support the education agenda that the government has. This transformative agenda is worth supporting.
Then the issue about some expired rights served to students, has it come to a notice, and are you worried about that?
It is, you know, it is not true. So please, let us focus on things that move this country forward. I think this is our problem. We have good things. Look at what I've just seen. That should be your focus. How you advance the Ghanaian child. How you improve their opportunities so they become good citizens. Propaganda and rumor mongering has no place in education exhibition. Thank you.
Lots have been said, a lot of back and forth. We've heard the Ministry of Education. We've heard even the Chief of Staff wade into this matter and say that it's making a mountain out of a molehill, and that it's not a big deal. The food is not contaminated or poisonous. It's just past its best before date. Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa, does that bring the matter to an end?
Certainly not. And the Chief of Staff said worse than that. I don't think that she will have come under the barrage of criticism she has received if she put it how you put it, even though how you put it is still bad. But the Chief of Staff simply dismissed this and said it's untrue, and that everything is propaganda, and that there should be no space for propaganda in education. I'm like, what's going on here? You are Chief of Staff. You coordinate the government ministries and agencies. You are their head. What preliminary work did the Chief of Staff do? She should have immediately summoned the Ministry of Education, the FDA, the National Buffer Stock Company. Mind you, this notorious company, Lamens, which was indicted in 2021 in the 2021 Auditor General's report, was not doing this criminal rebagging, because our Public Health Act 851 is very clear. They did not follow the law, so it's criminal. And indeed, they themselves have admitted and paid a fine for same. So Buffer Stock Company opened a storage facility for this criminal activity to go on. And these are all government functionaries working under the Chief of Staff, reporting to her. And the Chief of Staff, a mother, a grandmother, does not think that this is a matter that she should be alarmed, and she should immediately
Right, credit to Joy News for both footages, but we heard the Chief of Staff there attempting to dispel that allegation that the rice that was distributed to the schools were actually expired. Then Ablakwa came back trying to prove that, I mean, why would I do this for propaganda purposes? We are talking about the lives of children, I mean, for that matter. But let me pick your initial thoughts on this, Kojo. You interviewed Ablakwa.
Yeah.
I earlier watched, I think, one done by Akako.
Yes.
Where he brought a lot of documents. I think it was about an hour-long interview, a whole lot of issues. But you have heard directly from the horse's own mouth. Do you think that this is for propaganda purposes?
Well, I mean, why don't we review the facts and then we can all decide for ourselves? You know, I think it's better to do it that way. Just before I go over those facts, can I just say, and this is independent of whether Okujeto Ablakwa is telling the truth or not, right? Hearing the chief of staff, the person whose job it is to manage all heads of all state institutions, all ministries, her job is to manage them all. Hearing her dismiss even the most ridiculous accusation that children may have been poisoned, hearing her dismiss it as propaganda is the most worrying part of this whole story. I'm saying that even if Okujeto Ablakwa is lying, hearing the chief of staff dismiss it as propaganda is truly worrying. It's one of those times when I caught myself thinking that the most irrational statement constantly repeated in Ghana is that it will be. Because on what basis? Your job is to manage these people and make sure that they do a good job. Somebody says one of them has done a bad job. Your response is propaganda. Oh, well, what are we paying you for? I mean, at the very least, make an attempt to look into it. Make an attempt. After all, worse things have happened. They have. So why not take the most perfunctory look before you come and dismiss it? Anyway, she chose to go that way. Now you want to know whether I think Okujeto Ablakwa is still... Let's just review the facts and decide for ourselves. So what Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa is reporting is that a company called Lamens has been in contract with the government of Ghana since 2020. To do what? To supply food to schools under the school feeding, project. A whistleblower called the Food and Drug Authority to inform them that this company was illegally rebagging rice. What does that mean? They've got several bags of rice that they are supposed to supply. They have opened up these bags, are emptying the rice into new bags. Now, the original bags of rice are from a company called Mushoshu in India. The bags, the rice had a best before date of some date in December 2023. They were pouring the rice from the properly labeled Mushoshu bags into new bags that had some ECOWAS something written on it.
Made in Ghana?
Made in Ghana. And please, this rice was not made in Ghana. It was imported from India. Pouring it into these made in Ghana bags and distributing to schools.
I actually understand it had the EU logo on it as well.
Oh, I see.
So EU and then ECOWAS and then
I see.
Made in Ghana.
Okay, all right. That's what the whistleblower reported to the FDA. So Mr. Okujeto Ablakwa then says that he looked into it and he came up with more evidence. So Mr. Okujeto Ablakwa has so far presented the following evidence. He's presented a letter from the police to the FDA saying that, well, we were given a tip-off that this thing is happening. We went to the location. We found people there rebagging this rice. We made some arrests. We are now investigating, but we need to know whether this rice is contaminated or not. The FDA then launched an investigation. The documentation of the launching of the investigation is there. A letter from the person who did the investigation to their CEO is also there. The letter says, we did an investigation. We found that this rice had passed its best before date. FDA then wrote to the company, Lamens, and said, you violated the law. Not just are you selling rice that has passed its best before, oh, no, not only are you supplying rice that has passed its best before date, you are also rebagging it and mislabeling it. You are doing this in a facility that belongs to the buffer stock company, a facility that is not licensed to store food.
Yeah.
Please, let us pause for a moment to digest the stupidity of that statement. The buffer stock company is not licensed to store food.
Yeah.
What level of abject incompetence is this? Oh, by the way, the buffer stock food company is a state organization. Its boss reports to the chief of staff. Let that sink in. Let's come back to the facts. The FDA wrote to this company and said, we've caught you doing all these things. So, first of all, we're going to fine you 150,000 cedis. Secondly, you are going to dispose of this rice. In fact, you will dispose of it under supervision. So we are arranging for that supervision, and then you dispose of it. Some people were arrested. Suddenly, the people who were arrested were released. I'm sorry, I can't speak to why. I don't know, I wasn't there. You decide for yourself. They were released. Then, suddenly, the FDA boss writes to the same company that has been fined, sanctioned, and told to dispose of the rice. Wrote to them and said, here's the latest. Your rice, we have given you an extension. You can use it until the end of April 2024.
Yeah.
They were caught rebagging it at the end of December, at the end of 2023. You can use it till the end of April 2024, but not beyond that. If you want to use it beyond that, we have to test it again, okay? All right. So what happened to this rice? It was then distributed to the schools. The children ate the rice. And by the way, I missed one minor detail. When they did the original investigation, the one based on which they fined them 150,000 cedis and told them to dispose of the rice, they found insects in the rice. Okay, all right. And then they fined them, told them to dispose of it. And then the CEO of the FDA wrote to them again and said, you know your insect-infested rice? I give you till April to use it, but not beyond that. So they distributed the rice to our children in schools. The children ate the rice. Well, as far as we know. We don't know when they ate the rice, because when the food is supplied to the school then decides when to use it. They will probably put it into their own stock and rotate their stock. You know, one of the jobs I did when I was a student, and some blessings came my way, and I had the opportunity to jackpass more and go and work to come and fund my pre-man lifestyle. I worked in a restaurant at a big hospital in England called St. Thomas Hospital. They have a canteen there, and I was in charge of making sandwiches in this canteen. And one of the first things they drummed into my head was the difference between best before and expiry. Yeah. Because the filling for the sandwiches came from different sources, and we had to manage the stock. So the first thing they told us was, there's a difference between best before and expiry. Expiry refers to the date by which the food is no longer
wholesome for consumption.
In fact, no, I don't want to use that catch-all term. The date beyond which the food is no longer what is described on the label. Okay, so if it says that, oh, this food contains 5% of sugar and 12% of this and amino acids and this, that. Beyond this date, that information is no longer true. And that information could have varied to a point where if you decide to go and buy it because it has 5% sugar and you are diabetic, you don't want to eat more than 5% sugar. By this point, beyond this date, the sugar could be 15%. You could eat it and be sick. Right? So expiry date means the actual constitution of the item has changed beyond this date. So don't eat it. Dispose of it, no matter what. best before date. Now there are synonyms for best before. You could say use by or sell by. They all mean best before. Best before date is the date beyond which the advertisers can no longer claim that what they say about this food is true. Okay, so if the advertisers say that, oh, this food, if you eat it, it constitutes one of your 5 vitamin requirements a day. After the best before date, you cannot rely on that. But it doesn't mean that the structural composition of the food has changed to the point where it will be poisonous to you. On one condition, the best before date only applies if you store it according to the instructions. First of all, you keep it sealed, and you keep it at the right temperature, in the right environment. If it is a product that, you know, it's not a non-meat product, you don't keep it with meat. If you do that, the best before date becomes irrelevant. The food is not wholesome. If you open the package, the best before date becomes irrelevant. The food is not wholesome. Now let's all remember what these people were caught doing. Rebagging. They opened the original packaging and were pouring it into new packaging. So the best before date was immediately negated the minute they opened each bag. Right? And the rice was tested after they had opened all the bags. Yeah. That's when they found the weevils and the insects in them. So let us remove this, oh, it wasn't expiry, it was best before. Just remove that nonsense from the conversation. It doesn't matter. The minute we open those bags in an unlicensed storage facility, we compromise the food.
It's been tampered with, yeah.
Then we gave it to children because somebody decided to extend its shelf life. We gave it to children and these children ate it. Now, do you even know whether the children ate it before or after April? Because the headmasters and the bearers and the kitchen managers in the schools were not informed that we are giving you rebagged rice that passed its best before date and was opened in a contaminated, in an unlicensed environment and was contaminated with insects. They didn't tell them that. They just gave them bags of rice. So these managers of the schools would take these bags of rice and go and do what I was doing in St. Thomas Hospital. They'll go and put it behind the ones that they already have. Because they have to rotate their stock. It's called FIFO. First in, first out.
Yeah.
So how do you know when the kids ate it? Today, when I spoke to Kujeto Ablakwa, I also spoke to Nana Akumia, who is the deputy chairman of the Baumia campaign. His first response was that, isn't it strange that we haven't heard any reports of children, you know, suffering any illnesses from eating this contaminated rice? I was alarmed. Bearing in mind that Nana Akumia, who's a good friend of mine, is also the head of a state institution.
I think
the STC.
Yes. State Transport Corporation.
To hear him say such a thing, that, well, I mean, we haven't heard any reports of children being sick, so what's our problem? Isn't it strange? So I thought, wait, is this the official position of the NPP? That, oh, indeed, we poisoned your children, but none of them died. Is this really what we are being told? So if your question is, did it happen or did it not happen or all of that, my answer to you is this: how will we ever find out? How will we ever find out? The people who we have paid, elected, and trusted to protect our children say it didn't happen. They say it's propaganda. So how will we ever find out what those children ate earlier this year? How will we ever know? If some child has developed some condition that their parents are spending a fortune on right now and don't even understand where it came from, how will we ever know that it wasn't because some company called Lamens, run by a bunch of people who then the owners of that company have been traced to an MPP group in Kumasi? How will we ever know that it's not because your child was poisoned by these people? And by the way, laments,
she says it's propaganda, we should all say it's propaganda, and the kids should continue in this poison, the poison they are eating. Because of concern is power. We are 2 weeks away from the election, and that's all they're concerned about. Why would what's called Nana Kumia sit on your show and I listen to the show? Why would he be saying the kind of things he's saying? Because his concern is power. They don't care. I almost use the F word. They don't care about the way about, you know, it was no because they've consistently breached the terms of the contract they signed with us consistently. Was their intention is never to go and work. Their intention is all the trappings of power. That's their concern. Look under the table with all the criminal things that he supervised. Why has he himself not resigned? Because the dollar is almost 17 cedis. Or is it because of the fat envelope under the table, the fat juicy one under the table? That's why he can't resign. The chief of staff, the one who supervises over all these people, you understand? Why is she still there? The chairman of the buffer stock, the minister of education, you understand? Indeed, I extended and even include the director of the FDA. That person should have resigned on principle, because you have determined that a certain product is unwholesome. This is how I show you the word unwholesome. That one you capture everything. That is poisonous, for want of a better word. That the children are not supposed to eat. And you've given in fact, you've gone ahead to even exact some punishment. I'm damn sure, what's God, others from above, change your verdict. Change your verdict. Give them more time. Allow the children to eat poison. Allow the children to eat poison. That's what whoever gave the FDA boss that order. Or the FDA boss want to sleep and suddenly some change the mind, and when they say, listen, the food I say they shouldn't eat, the poison I say they shouldn't eat. Right now, extended time, give them 4 more months. Let them eat that poison. Let them eat the poison. Let them eat the poison. And somebody can have the temerity, the cockroach audacity to say that, listen, nobody has fallen sick because of the poison they ate, and so there's no issue. And we are clapping for them. People are getting them because it's a kakistocracy. The democracy we think we have is now a kakistocracy, and it's a kakistocracy because the citizens of this country, the sovereign, because we are the sovereign. We are the sovereign. They are not the sovereign. We've given them a job. We've given them a job. And clearly, they are working against us. They are killing our children. They said the food that we have determined is poison. Give them 4 more months to eat. The food we've now seen weevils, insects, and allow them to enjoy the. You understand? The people who said, listen, is poison, extended the time for them to eat more poison. Extended the time so they'll eat more poison. But you see, it's the same problem. It's the same problem with the Galamsey issue. The same problem, because we have a situation where, sadly, in spite of the oath they took, sadly, in spite of the clear terms of their obligations and the contract they signed with us, because their intention was never to fulfill those obligations, they look in their bank accounts and they see as they can $1 million can get missing in their house, and they don't even realize it. Yes, they don't even realize it. So the poor children, they should continue eating poison. They should continue eating poison. So the people of Ghana need to be wide awake. You understand? We need to be wide awake. We need to wise up. We need to, because you see, we are heading into dangerous territory where that state of nature that Thomas Hobbes described in the 11th year, which is supposed to be short, which is supposed to be brutish. You understand? Where everybody is fighting against everybody, where chaos abound. That's where we are heading to. That's where we are heading to, because the people we give our powers to simply want the power, but they do not want to work. Yes, and because of that fundamental dereliction of duty, that criminal dereliction of duty. Yes, in fact, I'm being charitable if I use the word dereliction, because this goes beyond dereliction. this deliberate poisoning of poor children, all in the name of free SHS. All in the name of free SHS. Because it makes me question. So when they were doing the free SHS, did they come out from a very good place, or it came out from a heart of deception? Let me throw something at them so they'll give me power. What do the people of Ghana need? They want me to pay their school fees. Okay, we have evil infested rice, we'll give it to them to eat. But we'll have our power. And we can do what we want with our power. You understand? Galamsey, you take an oath that I'm going to protect your environment. People are mining, and in the way they are mining, stealing our property. We are forced to eat cyanide, lead. You understand? Oh, let's deceive them. Let's tell them that, we will recall and amend that LI. Oh, let's allow some military men to go and do some facade. 2 days. We'll come back to square one. Because there's a fundamental lack of commitment. To give leadership that will protect our lives. And I'm saying that when the obligation to protect our lives is not about enforcing laws that say that shall not kill. But if you sleep on your job, you do not put in place the right institutions to ensure that what we eat is healthy, that healthcare is top notch. You understand? That our education, the structures are there. If you fail to do that and you sleep on those things, you fail to build the structures of the economy, then you are not protecting our lives. You are not protecting our lives. And it goes beyond a failure to protect our lives. But you are an active participant in actions that will kill us. I said, Nana Kubia says that, listen, we poisoned them and they did not die, so what's your matter? What's your business? The people of Ghana, you see them and you are healing them, so they think everything is okay. You're honorable, but they are dishonorable. They are unscrupulous. Not I'm saying that. You see, we shouldn't deceive ourselves and think we have a democracy. Ghana, we have a fine democracy. We don't have a democracy. It's a kakistocracy. We are being governed by the unscrupulous in society, and that must change. That has to change, and the steps to change this unfortunate situation will start with the decisions we make come 7 December 2024. You understand? When we go and we vote, we should vote for Ghana, and we will vote for Ghana if we end this kakistocracy. If we end this situation where people we give our powers to actively, deliberately work against our collective interest, can sit on TV and say that, listen, we poisoned them, but they did not die, so what's your problem? We must stop that poison coming from these people. And so all of them, chief of staff, oh, this is propaganda. Nana Kumia, oh, this is, we'll be poisoned, but they did not, and we clap for them. Listen, you understand? We are in a system governed by the rule of law. Fundamental tenets, we are all equal before the eyes of the law. We are all equal before the eyes of the law. And we must have that at the back of our minds. We must believe, we must have that confidence. That tells you that yes, the person can be president. But beyond the president, he's a human being. Blood. You see, I watched a video where a young man had the courage to watch, to look in the eyes of the president with a disdain that we all should be looking at the president with. All of us should be looking at Nana Addo with disdain, because he's harmed the country. And people have the temerity to call this courageous young man and want him to apologize. You see, we should take the attitude of that young man. He won't take gun. He won't take gun. But we should look at the people we've given our powers to, who are actively using those powers to work against our collective interests. We should look at them with disdain, and we should go and take a big broom, and on 7 December, let us sack them. Let us sack them with all the anger, with all the poison they've poisoned our children, with all the poison they've poisoned all of us because of Galamsey. Let us sack them from power, and let us lay a standard and tell whoever becomes president that if you come and you deliver leadership akin to what these unscrupulous lot have granted us, then we'll look at you with disdain too, and we'll sack you with a broom. We'll sack you with a broom and put you in the abyss of failure where they deserve to be, and we'll stop calling them honorables. Let us rise up, because we are the sovereign. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was quite an impassioned one from Councillor Piadankwa, let me come to you, Mami Amaprat. You've been observing what's going on. I cannot for the life of me understand, and I know I'm not supposed to share an opinion on this, but I don't understand why somebody would fail at a duty and still be allowed to carry on with that duty. I just don't understand it, especially when the Auditor General has come out to tell us that this is what this individual is engaged in as far back as 2021.
Yeah.
2021 has been 3 years, and the person still goes on to do that. I simply do not get it. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I feel the same way. I share in your sentiment, but for me, it's bigger and broader than that. There are laws for a reason. We have manufacturing laws in this country. It's for a reason. There's a reason why we insist that for most products, or for all products, we should have manufacture dates on them, we should have expiration dates on them. It's not for nothing. We have public health policies in this country. They should count for something. See, that's my concern. Because then our worry, me and you, this is where we are both scratching our head and wondering how it's possible that from 2021, this company was found liable, 2021, and we allow them to continue to operate. This thing where we are constantly lamenting, the answer to all of this should be the law, where it's pretty clear, what the rules of engagement are, where everybody understands what their role is, where their limitations are, what the boundaries clearly are, so we all act within the boundaries of the law. And once that happens, I don't think that we'll come back and have conversations like this. But if you have a law, or you have laws in Ghana, one on public health, where we have different public health policies, well, when we have laws in this country that govern manufacturing, is detailed enough to speak on expiration dates, what can go on the cover of a product, what can go, if we have all these laws and we can so flagrantly disregard these laws and continue to exist, then we have a problem. We have a problem. All of us are lamenting about this company, Laments, and how they are operating and all of these things. Kojo spoke about how they are seeing trouble, and all of that. And as I sit here, immediately I'm thinking that whatever happened to Annex 11, right? I would have thought that the whole point of securing, a government, how do you call it? A government deal to supply. The point of that is that within honestly executing your duty, you are going to be earning. We've become a country that just thrives on dishonesty and thrives on greed. Greed is what this is. Because if they were operating as they should normally, if they were procuring these this rice in this specific instance and distributing the rice as they should, where government is paying them, what is due them, in that honest enterprise, in the enterprise of that honest living, they would be making a profit, right? So where is the need? Where is the justification for all the extras? The justification for falsifying, the justification for, all of these things that are a danger, to human life, if not for greed. And I think that increasingly we become a country that rewards greed. We see it, we mention it, we get on TV, we speak passionately about it every now and then, we are angry, and then business continues as usual. There's no punishment, there's no repercussion. Now, my biggest interest in all of this is buffer stock. The buffer stock, and its role or its involvement in all of this. The buffer stock is where the rebagging was done. Is that what this is? Buffer stock. Buffer stock. That's where the rebagging was done. That's where, there. So immediately, I want to pierce the veil of incorporation. I want to know who is behind Laments. How does Laments have access to buffer stock? Who owns it? Who are the people behind it? That's what I want to know. Because I can't imagine any random, rice distributor having access to any kind of government institution or government agency to the extent of being able to go there to rebag, using its facilities and all of these things. And then also having the FDA do a U-turn and a roundabout turn on its own decisions, concerning their operations and all of this. So immediately in all of this, my concern, let's pierce the veil of incorporation. Let's find out who is behind, laments. Let's begin to name and shame people by their faces and their names. Let's do that. But you see, the crucial point of all of this conversation then is free SHS and the quality of service we are getting from free SHS. My biggest frustration is the role playing that this government continues to do. It's as if the government has an understanding of what its roles and its functions should be, and what the government does is that it plays around its role with no real or genuine interest in playing its role. So free SHS, right? First of all of us are complaining about the quality in terms of the books, in terms of the teachers, in terms of the infrastructure. We've had all these conversations. People have consistently asked, I myself have asked, did we not know of the numbers from the junior high going on to the senior high? The sham our educational system has become, where people are now having to do 6 shifts, in, out. It's just a mess, right? But beyond all of this is also the feeding. How many months ago there was a story of this woman who lodged in the ward school and was cooking for the ward herself. I don't know if you heard the story. It made the rounds on social media, where the woman had brought foodstuffs herself, had brought cooking pots, and she was in her child's school cooking for her child every day, and by extension some other kids also got to eat because of this woman's motherly instincts. I don't know what else to call it. But listen, this government has to go. This government has to go. This government has to go because, I don't see any feeling at the base. There's absolutely no feeling whatsoever towards the people of this country. It's a shame, really, when you think about it. You have a government that really couldn't care less. Like Kojo says, if such a serious allegation has been made, you are talking about the livelihood of children, right? Any country takes care of its vulnerable. Any serious country first takes care of its vulnerable. That's the indication of a sophisticated society. A society that takes care of its vulnerable. That's where you start from. So if there's such a serious allegation against, children, one would have thought that it would be taken seriously, But for it to get dismissed the way it has, and the communication that has followed every now and then, government communicator after government communicator keeps dropping the ball, on this issue, and it instantly gives you the clearest indication of where government is, where the vulnerable is concerned. And for me, it can't get worse than this. If this government can't take care of even the most vulnerable children who, by your own policy, you've bundled that into an educational system that doesn't work. This free SHS that is simply bleeding, is just not working. Then I think it's time that, clearly the government is saying they can't do it. This is the clearest admission of we can't do it. So they should just, everybody's saying we can't wait for December 7th. I myself, I can't wait for December 7th. I think it's time.
It's time. Talk about December 7th. We have some 16 days more to the general elections. We're all waiting with bated breath. You want to add something?
Yeah, I think it's important to add some details. Okay, this is from a tweet posted by Bright Simmons of Imani, and he's drawing attention to the fact that Lamens, has been has been identified as having committed several infractions in the past. And I talked about two of them, selling unwholesome food and chobu, right? Okay, I want to give you the details. So this is from the 2021 Auditor General's report. In fact, it is the report of the year 2020, but it's published in 2021, okay? So this is the first year that Lamen started doing business with government of Ghana. First year. Okay, paragraph 608. In contravention of section 52 of the PFM Act, that's the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921, we noted that supplies of 65 bags of rice in March 2021 to Prestea Huni Valley Senior High and Technical School and 5 cartons of carnation milk to Asagregua Senior High School by Lamen's Ventures. So if your kid was in these schools in that year, this is for you. Were found to be unwholesome at our time of audit in September, though the expiry date on the product was October 2021. So understand, the product had not yet even met its expiry date, but it was unwholesome. Why? Was it rebagged? Okay. Paragraph 609. As a result, there is the risk that the items will be served to students in times of food shortage with possible health implications. We recommend to the head of the school to report the matter to the National Buffer Stock Company for appropriate action or be held accountable for any inappropriate disposal of the items. So they were supposed to report it to the Buffer Stock Company. They are co-conspirators. They are cronies, the ones who had given them access to their premises to rebag illegally rice that was past its best before date. That's who they were told to, the schools were told to report this matter to. Okay, same report. There were about 15 incidents of over-invoicing. Okay, so many of them involving Lamens. So rice, they supplied they said they supplied 1,363 bags of 50 kg rice. They actually supplied 1,000. So they overcharged us for 363 bags. Then there was mackerel. 1,125 boxes is what they charged us for, but they only gave us 530
so
boxes.
Over 700, nearly 700 boxes.
1,125, so over nearly 600 boxes. Sardines, they charged us for 405 boxes. They actually gave us 240 boxes.
So about
And pocketed money for 165 boxes they never gave us. Tin tomatoes, so far every example I'm mentioning is Lamens. Tin tomatoes, 604 boxes is what they charged us for. They only gave us 329 boxes. They charged us for an extra 275 boxes nobody ever received. Cooking oil, they charged us for 373 gallons. They only gave us 283 gallons. 90 phantom gallons were paid for by the government of Ghana. And there are 2 more. In fact, there are more, but let me give you 2 more. Tin tomatoes. Lamens charged us for 312 cartons. They gave us 153, less than half. They charged us for an extra 159 that they didn't give us. Vegetable oil. Lamens charged us for 187 25-liter gallons. They gave us 124. 63 of them, no one ever saw, but we paid for.
These are all huge monies.
In 2021, their first year of business. This is how they started. So just imagine what they did in 2022, 2023. In 2024, where a whistleblower revealed what they were doing with rice. Do you have any idea what else they've done? Do you have any concept of what else they fed our children? But they are still there. And by the way, the post that Bright Simmons put up actually says here, one of the bosses of Lamens was a kingpin in the Kejetia Elephant Movement Association. Does that sound like a book reading club? A group of traders reportedly associated with the current ruling party. And it goes on. I mean, these people have been getting fat deals to bring in tons of rice, canned fish, tinned milk.
But could you, I mean, shouldn't there be like a criteria for who gets to supply food to children?
There is.
Shouldn't there be?
Ama, there is a criteria.
So
you just have to belong to the party.
Yeah.
of the ruling government. That's it. If you can meet that criteria,
It was a
Because
sole
it's serious
source. It was
business,
sole
isn't it?
source.
Feeding children.
Yeah.
It's not. It's.
It was,
I mean,
it was just sole sourced in 2020.
it's serious business to you. It's not serious business to Nana Akufo-Addo. It's not serious business to the government of Ghana. It's not serious business to the Ministry of Education. It's not serious business to the Chief of Staff. It's not serious business to the Buffer Stock Company. It's not serious business to anybody. But you will be voting on December 7th. Is it serious business to you?
oh, absolutely.
No. There's a rhetorical question to
Absolutely.
to the so-called sovereign. Is it a serious business to the people of Ghana? Very critical.
Right. We have just some 25 minutes more. I think we can briefly discuss President Kufuor's comments and his endorsement of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, especially with just some 16 days more until the elections. Or for all the topics, I think that one would be more topical to discuss. But I would say I'm not surprised, especially he belongs to a political party, and so he decides that his political party would be first, and whoever his party presents, he has to lend his support to that candidate of the New Patriotic Party. So from that angle, that is why I see it. But a lot of people feel that he's a statesman, and so many things have gone on in the country where whenever it happened, he kept mum over it. He never spoke on these issues, and so it would be only proper that at this time, why would you come and tell us that we should vote for this person at this time? That is the beef that some Ghanaians have with him on this one. And of course, President Kufuor is a very respected Ghanaian for that matter, and I feel that maybe for that reason people have decided to go a little bit soft with him on this issue. But some people are also very unhappy about the stance he's taken, and that includes the flag bearer of the Movement for Change, Honorable Alan John Kojo Chairmantic. He came up with some very strong words for him, especially on this particular issue, and that, I mean, it caught me by surprise. But what are your thoughts on this, Council?
Yeah, so you see, I think this issue about President Kufuor endorsing Bawumia and your own views hasn't to say that you consider it normal because he belongs to a political party. Alan's response and all the comments that have been made, for me, I'm pretty excited by all the excitement, and I know you are saying that he's supposed to be a statesman, and I disagree with that statesman issue. So unless you are a statesman, then you can be patriotic. So unless you're because we are demanding that because he's a statesman, he should put Ghana first. You understand? But that obligation to put Ghana first, in my view, lies on every Ghanaian. You need not be ex-president before your sole consideration when you are taking decisions that impacts Ghana. You understand? As it ought to be what's in the best interest of the country. As my personal view is that this issue is not about President Kufuor. It's not about Alan himself. For me, the issue I see is at what stage do you put your party, the interest of the party, ahead of the country? I will say because President Kufuor, I think this is the first time he made his position clear in 2007 when he was advising the party as to how they should choose who will be the next leader. Said that they needed to understand that when they're going into an election, every true party man will vote for the candidate the MPP decides to sponsor. He said in 2007 when Bawumia gave his lecture he endorsed him there. He's endorsed him. I think this is about the third time I've personally heard him say that in his view he thinks Bawumia is the best person to lead the country. The question is, in the context of everything that has happened over the past 8 years, in the context of what the candidates have done with their personal lives as private people, and in whatever capacity they find themselves working for the public, you understand? Can you honestly say that Bawumia is the most qualified to grant leadership to Ghana at this point in time. Understand? Also to add the context of where we are as a nation, where we've lost, where political leadership has lost credibility, where the economy has lost credibility, where we are now a kakistocracy, and we need a leader that will take us from that kakistocracy into the true democracy. Can you honestly say that Bawumia is the best person to? And that's everybody has to make their own decision on that. I think it is people's view on that topic, on that issue, that's causing all the uproar and because simply put, bless, if you have your personal company, if Ghana was your personal company, and you are going to choose the CEO, would you be making the kind of considerations not only President Kufuor, but majority of the people in Ghana make? Because when we are going to vote for the leaders in this country, what are our considerations? What do we consider? He's a party man. He's my tribesman. He was my friend or an old student of Achimota School. Well, in my case, he's an Accra. And we're going to choose the leader of Ghana on those very trivial grounds. And that's why consistently, but the biggest problem we are facing is a fundamental deficiency in leadership. Because we, the sovereign, when we are signing social contracts with people, when we are handing over the reins of leadership to them, the kind of things we consider are very unserious. And let me put it that way. You see, when you go to the constitution, fortunately, the past 2 weeks, we've been having issues with the parliamentarians. That if you're an MP and you change your party, then you have to vacate your seat. Why is it that for the presidency we don't have something similar? Because in Ghana here, per the constitution, if a president is sponsored by, let's say if Nana decides that I'm going to the NDC, must he vacate his seat as the president of Ghana? Does the constitution say that? You can't give any kind of interpretation, whether voodoo or whether real. That will lead to a conclusion that if you leave the party, you understand, who sponsored you to become president, you will cease to be president of Ghana. It doesn't apply there. Because by the intention of the framers of the constitution, the presidency is not meant to be partisan. The presidency is not meant to be partisan. Our task is to choose the leader of Ghana. That's our tax. That's our tax. And so if you own your own personal company or your father's company, you own your personal company, you won't allow somebody to be president. Why would you allow that person to be president only on there because he belongs to your party? You get so. Simply put, what Alan Chamartin is saying is that if you put his Alan, whatever he's done in private life, in public life, and you compare it to Bawumia, and you compare it to Mahama or everybody else, and then what egged him is that he understands that President Kufuor knows what he's done very, very extremely well. Yeah, you understand? So I say, in spite of what you know, because there are a lot of people who don't know what Alan has done. A lot of people. I think last week Kojo said here that when they talk about honesty and you understand, but probably it's because of one. And he gave that he's not saying anything. But when you talk about what he did with Empretech, I mean, how many people know the work he did with Empretech and the focus of that work? You understand about enterprise development. We talk about AGWA, what he did with AGWA and the benefit of AGWA to Ghana and to the entire African continent. When you talk about the Presidential Special Initiative and how that made President Kufuor's government one of the best governments we've had under the Fourth Republic. And President Kufuor himself says it, that 70% of the policies that made his presidency as one of the best we've had, arguably, under the Fourth Republic. When you allude to all those, the pains you took, the personal pains you took to convince him to join your government, because Alan didn't want to be part of his government, and I think that should be a fact. You understand? The steps you took and the extent to which he contributed, like I'm saying, President Kufuor himself admits that about 70% of what was good in his government was as a result of Alan Chamartin. You understand? What after that, what he did with what's it called, for Africa, with African continental free trade. You understand? To the extent that he told people personally that Alan is somebody who's capable of transforming Ghana within just 3 years. He said it for myself, I know. I don't need to say personal things here. But if in the light of everything else, probably it's an endorsement, he's still about the party, but what he's simply saying is that in his view as President Kufuor, Bawumia is better than Alan Chamartin. Because that's what an endorsement means. You understand? In the light, on the basis of a paper that he's read. You understand? So, yeah, and that's what I'm saying, that it brings a lot of things to the fore. But I must add, as in, probably if I was, and this, you know, like, he personally, I may not have reacted in the manner it was called. I think that must be said. Yeah, but where you essentially, you are saying that based on everything, that all the information available to you, and this information may not be available to the ordinary man. Yes, it may not be available to the ordinary man, but if you consider this in the context of what President Kufuor knows personally, you understand? You understand? And like I'm saying, we are not the only democracy. In America, former presidents have been very opposed to, let's say, Trump, and they refused to endorse Trump. You understand? They chose their country over, because President George Bush, and there's this erroneous view. It wasn't the NPP that made President of Ghana. It was not the NPP that made President Kufuor the president of Ghana. It was the people of Ghana that made President Kufuor the president of Ghana. Right. You understand? And so, for me, to end, after everything that has happened, going to 2025, I believe strongly. Like you know, I never believe in coup d'etat. I don't think it's a solution. I think democracy, when we do our mistakes and we allow the democracy to go, we will correct ourselves. I believe that this conversation will come to the fore. At what stage do you stick to your political party? Do you still stay there when because I watched the interview and President went on talking about the values, the liberal democratic values. Because the MPP today, can they say that they are the home of liberal democrats? You understand? And so, but like I'm saying, this conversation would be had. At what point, as a Ghanaian, because our constitution clause is under chapter 6, that we should always choose Ghana ahead of our partisan interests, ahead of our tribal interests, ahead of all other interests. So when we are going to vote, your sole consideration should be the person I'm granting all these powers to. Is it in the best interest of the country? And that's what I keep on saying, that on 7th December, let us go and vote Ghana. Let's go and vote the person. And just ask yourself this simple question. If Ghana was your personal property, your personal company, amongst all the people who are contesting, who would you entrust the country to? Personally. And I don't know if my endorsement carries as much weight as President Kufuor's endorsement. Mm-hmm. But I tell Ghanaians that in terms of their credibility, in terms of their character, in terms of their competence, then in fact there's no debate that Alan Chamartin stands head and shoulders above each and every one of them. In my view, he's the most qualified person to have contested as president in this fourth republic.
Right. Thank you very much.
And we should do Ghana a big service by entrusting the country into his hands, into his leadership at this time. Right. And Ghana will be transformed.
Right. Thank you, Councillor Viadankwa. Briefly, Mami Amaprat.
Well, I have to say that, you know, listening to Chief Alan go on, you know, the way that he did on those tapes, I found it exciting. Forgive me that I'm always doing the non-conventional analysis. I felt like, listen to me brag on myself, right? Listen to me brag on myself. And I found it very interesting. You know, it's like saying that I am the most qualified. How could you ever, you know, endorse him when I'm right here? And I think that it's refreshing. I like it when politicians can brag on themselves and can sort of, you know, speak about who they are and their competence and what they've done. I think that at the end of the day, that's what politics should be about. It's not about, you know, do I come from the same tribe as you? It's about, are you competent to do the job? And that's what I took from all of these things. Like you, I also felt that, I mean, what else could ex-President Kufuor do? You know, given the kind of politicking that we do around here, it would have been very strange for President Kufuor to not endorse former President Bawumia. That would have been something. I mean, Vice President, forgive me, right? It would have been strange for that to happen. I am hoping for a Ghana where eventually former presidents will not endorse based on their party affiliation. Yeah. I'm praying for that Ghana where eventually everybody will endorse based on who they think is qualified. Because essentially that's the exercise that Chief Alan is asking former President Kufuor to do. He's asking him to speak based on integrity, to speak based on honesty, to speak based on what he knows, right? But is that our reality? is that the Ghana that we live in? You know, so that's the dream, that's the hope that eventually we would get to a Ghana where all of us would not say, but Chief, were you expecting something different? Because that seems to be the conversation that, but Chief, of course, he would endorse him because they are in the same party, which then leaves me asking the question, how relevant then are these endorsements?
Yeah.
If you all already know who ex-president Kufuor will endorse, if we all already know who every statesman will endorse based on their party affiliation, then what becomes of the endorsements, you know, that our statesmen, men, women give? Then it becomes completely pointless. So, I mean, I also am dreaming of a Ghana where endorsements count for something, where when I hear former presidents speak and say that, for me, vote this way, it can sway somebody. Somebody can be moved by it because we know that it will be coming from, you know. But as it stands now, in this Ghana that we are in, and, you know, with everything that's happening, I mean, people will endorse based on their party affiliations. Let me say this though. Was it yesterday that we aired the interview with Mr. Alolga Akatapori, and he said something that I found pretty striking. He said that because of the government structure that we run, you know, where it's a winner-take-all kind of system, our biggest headache and our biggest worry should not even be about the top players. It should be about the people at the bottom of the food chain, because people say things and do things based on their own survival. Right? It's not about, it's about his survival. So again, it's a prayer, you know, and a hope that eventually we'll get to a place where all of us will politic differently so that we can all trust. Who is even to say that President Kufuor doesn't believe what? It's even possible he believes what he's saying. It's possible. Let's grant him that. It's possible, right? But based on the kind of politics that we sort of, you know, politic around here, endorsements are, forgive me, but really completely meaningless. Completely meaningless.
Yeah. But there are some people who also think that the former president was pushed to come and say the things he said. Party functionaries.
I think this might be one of the very few occasions, because it doesn't happen often, when a lawyer might disagree with what I'm going to say. Yeah, it doesn't happen often, but I think today. Okay, all right. How do I say this without sounding controversial? It is my analysis that the MPP never liked Alan Chemantin. Nobody in the MPP ever liked him the way he thinks they did. That includes former President Kufuor. Yes, I know that he was famously backed by former President Kufuor when he made his first bid to represent the party as flag bearer. Famously backed. And what people seem to forget is that this was around the time when former President Kufuor was giving us all those veiled warnings about Nana Akufo-Addo. My analysis is that former President Kufuor would have done anything to avoid Nana Akufo-Addo succeeding him. And look, if I'm not saying this, I'm not saying that I'm saying this on authority. I'm not saying that I sat down and had a meeting with former President Kufuor where he shared these things. And if it ever comes out, I'll say it never happened, because it never did. It never did. But if you think back to that time, Alan Chemantin was a rather high-performing official in the government. He was one of the few people who didn't get reshuffled by heart, you know. He was somebody whose competence former President Kufuor seemed quite happy with. But that is a very separate thing to wanting someone to be your political successor. It's a rather different thing. However, If you put yourself in former President Kufuor's shoes at a time when he's about to leave the scene and he realizes that the worst possible person is in pole position to take over from him, what do? You find someone who can prevent that from happening. And he probably looked through his party and thought, this guy has a clean record, this guy has done good work, maybe we can
show him up.
Yeah. So with the evident backing of former President Kufuor, Alan Kyerematen raked in some 33% or something, 34% that first time out. Now the unfortunate thing is that it created a certain illusion, which anytime I converse with Alan Kyerematen, I bring it up. But I can tell that he disagrees with me. I believe that the results of those primaries created an illusion that the party likes Alan. But I think it was just the Kufuor element doing what they are told. That's my view. Because what have been the results since then? That after that first attempt, Alan, graciously conceded and let Nana Addo go with the promise that he will be next and all of that ridiculousness. But what were the results after that? The next time he attempted, without any President Kufuor on the scene, what was it? What 11%, something like that, just above 10%.
Further plummeted.
Indeed, after that he you remember he famously quit and all of that. And he came back. And again, that illusion was still there because he's remembering that he raked in 30-something%. So he thinks these people love me. They came back 1-point-something%. 4-point-something. Before the 1-point-something. 4-point-something%. Forgive me. I'm very sorry about that. Was it 4-point-something? Wait, are you sure? Because I know Nana Addo came in with about 94%, right? 94%. It was 4-point-something. And then the rest of them shared the 1-point-something. All right. Okay. So 4-point-something%. So you see the figure keeps plummeting.
Yeah.
But to his credit, he didn't lose hope. He was still convinced that they love him. So in the most recent attempt, if Alan was right that the MPP loves him, and Bawumia was simply the system candidate, backed with the resources of the system, backed with the the endorsement of President Akufo-Addo, who hadn't openly endorsed him at the time, but it was generally believed that President Akufo-Addo favored Bawumia, right? So if backed with all of these things, Bawumia had a certain undue advantage. And so he came out first. Alan should have been second. He wasn't. He was third. So, I'm sorry, but the MPP never liked Alan. And Kufuor is no exception. What do you expect him to say? Does Alan really think that everybody is as convicted as he is? That if Alan is not happy with the party, he will quit? So former President Kufuor should also quit and come and endorse? Because that's what it means by their constitution. Yeah. If Kufuor had endorsed Alan, he would have quit the party. So is that what Alan expects? That Kufuor should follow him out of MPP? I beg. How? I'll leave it there.
All right, thank you very much. Our time is already up. Thank you so much, Mami Amaprat. Thank you, Kuju. And thank you, Councillor Pia Dankwa. It's been... right? Right. I'll see you same time next week here on Election Focus. But 16 days more. Tomorrow we are bringing you the campaign trail. So the Movement for Change, NPP, NDC, all the parties will bring you the campaign trails here on Election Focus. My name is Kokwaloma. So do have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.